Hi, we're not on the range today, so you shouldn't have to put up with too much gunfire in the background. And what I'm talking about today are my top 5 handguns for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense. To which you might ask, why? I've already got 2 versions of this. Well, a while ago I did this presentation and people asked me to redo it because there was so much noise in the background, so that was version number 2. And today we're doing number 3 for a few reasons, primarily 2. 1, because I have new and different handguns available to me, and 2, and this is by far the more important, because the situation has changed, and we'll discuss the situation in more detail in a few minutes. But today's presentation, like so many others, comes with a litany of disclaimers. First and foremost being that these are my top 5 handguns, and nothing I say today should be inferred as a recommendation. 2, a lot of what I'm going to say today are my opinions, and my opinions are based on my training, my education, my experience, and different people have different experiences, so they have different opinions, and I make no claim that my opinion has its origin in the mind of greatness. 3, I'm only going to demonstrate today the handguns that I'm going to select and why. I am not in any way trying to tell you what handguns you should have. Nothing I say today should be inferred as a recommendation. And 4, many of the presentations I do have a boring part where I talk. Today will be no exception, except today I'm going to start with the boring part. So if you don't want to sit through the boring part, I invite you to skip ahead to where you see me in the low ready with a handgun. Okay, for those that are still here, let's get to the boring part where I talk. And what I'm going to start with is 5 of the criteria that I use in selecting a handgun for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense. The first one being handguns that are available to me, legal in the jurisdiction in which I live, available at the local stores, have a reasonable price. I'm not going to pay $2,000 for a handgun, available to me. Second is that it has to be a handgun that I can use safely and efficiently. I like to think I'm a fairly good handgun shooter, but there are some makes and models of handgun that I can't shoot very well. It has to be something that I can shoot efficiently. 3, it has to be a handgun sufficient to the task. I'm not going to carry a target pistol with a 9-inch barrel. And 4, and many people would say this is an invalid criteria, but it is going to influence my decision, and that is that I like the classics. I like 1911s. I like Smith & Wesson Model 10 or Model 36. I like the classics, and that's going to be part of my decision. And 5, and this is a very important one, it has to be a handgun that fosters program compliance. Now, different people have different terms for the same thing. Kentucky Patriot calls it consistent carry. But program compliance means that it has to be a handgun that's convenient enough to carry that someone will actually carry it. It won't get left at home or in the glove box. And I want to discuss that in a little more detail, and I have 2 handguns that will help me illustrate this. The Beretta Thunder and the Ruger LCP. Now, both are caliber .380 ACP, both have a similar price tag, and both are a nice pink color. But the Beretta, because it has a longer barrel, can give me more power out of the same cartridge. It also has an 8-shot magazine compared to a 6, and because it has a longer sighting plane and much bigger, higher visibility sights and a bigger grip, I should be able to shoot it more accurately. Now let's put that to the test. So I've got 2 Dirty Bird splattering targets, and I'll shoot from 10 yards, and I'll shoot the one on your left with the LCP, the one on your right with the Beretta Thunder, and let's see how the groups compare. And we see 2 things here. 1, with the Beretta, I am able to hold a little bit tighter group. And 2, because the Beretta has adjustable sights, I'm able to adjust it to where I want, as where this particular LCP hits a little bit left for me. So we see the Beretta is a little more accurate, and with a longer barrel, it's a little more powerful, and it has a capacity of 8+1 instead of 6+1, and 9 is more than 7. So it would appear that the Beretta is the clear winner, which brings up the question, If the Beretta is the clear winner, why would anyone carry an LCP? And that's where the concept of program compliance comes in. For some people, depending on how they're built and where they live and how they dress, there are many occasions where, for some people, the LCP will be on their person while the Beretta gets left in the glove box. Someone in Arizona in the summertime was wearing flip-flops, walking shorts, and a t-shirt. He might be able to stick the LCP in his pocket and off he goes, while the Beretta just wouldn't work. But when I talk about the advantages that the Beretta has, such as it's a little more powerful and a little more accurate and has a little more capacity, are those really advantages? Well, yes, they probably are. But are they enough of an advantage to make a difference? Let's see if we can break that down. First, in terms of accuracy, you saw that with the Beretta I did hold a tighter group, but I'm shooting a half-size silhouette at 10 yards. And although legitimate self-defense shootings do occur at 10, 20, even 50 yards. They're rare, but they occur. By far, what's going to be more common is distances of 7 yards or less. And we see that with the LCP, shooting a half-size silhouette at 10 yards has still kept all the rounds on the target, so it would appear that although the accuracy is a little less, it's still perfectly sufficient. Now, in terms of power, that's an interesting topic while we're talking about 380 ACP. We've done several presentations on 380 ACP ammunition selection, and what we found is there's some good ammo and there's some very poor ammunition. And that little bit of difference in barrel length sometimes can make a great deal of difference in whether or not you get hollow point expansion. There are some ammunitions that work just fine in the longer and shorter barrel, some that will work fine in the longer barrel, not the shorter, some that won't work very well in both. So the longer barrel in terms of power in this particular caliber does give you an advantage, but you can make the shorter barrel work if you make wise choices in ammunition. On a lot of other calibers like 9x19 and 38 Special, as you go to a shorter barrel, you will lose some power, but in almost all the ammunition you buy, even in the shortest barrels, you'll get sufficient hollow point expansion. So the longer barrel giving you more power is not that much of an advantage. Now, what about magazine capacity? Well, 8+1 is certainly more than 6+1. But how much of an advantage is that really? That's a topic worthy of a great deal of discussion. The importance, or lack thereof, of magazine capacity is a topic that I have discussed at length on several previous occasions. If you want to watch our presentation on double-action revolvers for concealed carry personal protection and home defense, Part 3, you can see a very long, very tedious monologue on the subject. But for today, the short version goes like this. If you're going to ask the question, how many rounds is enough? How important is magazine capacity? You have to answer that by first asking the follow-up question, which is, how many rounds does a citizen typically fire in a legitimate citizen-involved self-defense shooting? Well, statistics are very easy to get. Accurate statistics are nearly impossible to get. But from what I've been able to put together from those few sources that I would consider reliable, I've come to the conclusion that the great majority of the time, a self-defense shooting is favorably resolved for that citizen with less than 6 rounds. And so on my top 5 list of handguns for concealed carry and personal protection, although some of them are autoloaders with a capacity of 15 or more, some of them are snub-nosed revolvers with a capacity of 5. Because the great majority of the time, 5 is enough. And even if it isn't, you can reload. And in those situations where citizens shoot more than 5, you'll find that most of the time shot 8, 10, and 12 are unnecessary and legally highly questionable. After the perpetrator is fleeing and someone keeps shooting at them, unnecessary and legally highly questionable. But in doing all of that, we have to look at the situations that citizens are likely to get into. Now, there could be thousands of different circumstances and scenarios, and we can't prepare for all of them, but we can prepare for those that we would consider to be the most likely. And those are situations such as getting robbed when you're at the ATM, or being in a convenience store when it gets robbed, or stopping at a red light and having 1 or 2 perpetrators try to pull you out of the car to steal your car, or being at home and having someone break into your house because they thought you weren't there, then they discover that you are, and they decide to do something violent to you instead of run away. Or there's that situation where you're at home and a mentally ill person comes to your door thinking that your house is actually their CIA safe house. Those type of situations are what I would consider most common. There's also a couple of others, and they can happen to anyone, but women especially, when you've got that creepy, abusive ex-boyfriend that's declared that if he can't have you, no one can, and he comes over to your house to try to do something violent to you, or just the local pervo, rapo, murderer is sometimes quite a threat to you. And those are the situations that we prepare for, because traditionally those are the things that are most common for citizens to get in. However, I said earlier that the situation has changed. Well, today's presentation should air in August of 2020. And over the last few months, what we've seen is, although all those situations that have been around for years still are, we're now seeing others. Things like, instead of one or two perpetrators trying to pull you out of the car and take your car, and perhaps the best thing to do would be just hand them your keys and comply with that, now we're seeing large gangs of thugs pulling people out of the car for the purpose of just assaulting them. They don't even want to take the car, and you don't even have the option of complying. Those are the types of things we're seeing now. Rioting and looting, and what people are politely calling civil unrest. Not only are we seeing those, but I'm of the opinion that the situation will get worse before it gets better. So although all of these are still happening, we now have to concern ourselves with those as well. And all those criteria I talked about a few minutes ago, such as what's legally available to me in my local area and what I can shoot, and program compliance and so forth, those things are still important, but now magazine capacity has taken on a whole new importance of its own. And that will be reflected in my new list of top 5 handguns for concealed carry, personal protection, home defense. So, after all of this, let's actually take a look at some of the handguns I'm talking about. First on my list is something that won't surprise anyone, the Beretta M922 FS caliber 9x19. It's got a capacity of 15+1, it's a double to single action autoloader, it's accurate, it's supremely reliable, and sometimes I'll give the advice of go for what you know. This is what I know. Let's shoot it. Let's take a look at the target. Not bad. Now I'll put up a couple of new targets and we'll take a look at another pistol. Next on my list is a pistol that also won't surprise anyone, the Sig Sauer M17. Now there's been some safety concerns about the Sig 320. In my opinion, the ambidextrous manual safety on the M17 eliminates just about all of those. The M17 is a striker action, caliber 9x19 with a 17+1 capacity, and 21-shot magazines are readily available. It also has big high visibility sights with tritium illumination and a rail system. Let's shoot it. Let's take a look at the target. And again, not too bad. Let's take a look at another pistol. I said I like the classics. Here's one of them, the Steyr GB. It's a double to single action autoloader, caliber 9x19 with a capacity of 18+1. We have a presentation specifically on this handgun if you'd like a more detailed analysis of it. But for today, there's something interesting about this magazine I want to show you. Let's take a close-up look. Here's the Steyr magazine, and you can see that it stays double stacked all the way to the top. So instead of pushing the rounds down and back, you just push them down, like you're loading an AR or an AK magazine. So let's shoot it. Let's take a look at the target. And again, not too bad. Let's try another pistol. Next on my list is the Beretta M922. In terms of disassembly, reassembly, size, weight, and function of the firearm, it is virtually identical to the 92FS. The major difference is, instead of a 15-shot magazine of 9x19, you have a 15-shot magazine of 22 long rifle. Let's shoot it. Let's take a look at the target. And here's our groups, and not too bad. Now the question comes up, why a 22? There are several reasons. Remember, the situation has changed, and right now there are at least some places where 22 long rifle is more available and significantly less expensive than other calibers like 9x19, 40 Smith & Wesson, or 45 ACP. Also, I foresee the possibility that I might be in a predicament where I need to get out of it by making a long foot movement, and in that case, 22 long rifle ammunition is significantly smaller and a lot lighter than 9mm. Here's 100 rounds of 9mm, and here's 100 rounds of 22. You can see that the 22 is a lot smaller, and it's a lot lighter. Next on my list is the Ruger 5.7, caliber 5.7 by 28. It's a single-action autoloader with a 20-shot magazine. We have a separate presentation on this handgun specifically. If you'd like more details, you can watch that. Like the 22, this handgun has the advantage of ammunition that's small and light. Although not as small and light as 22, it is more powerful. But it has the disadvantage of ammunition that's expensive, and it can be hard to find. Let's shoot it. Let's take a look at the target. And again, not a bad group. Now I've got one more handgun I want to show you, and this one may surprise you. Sometimes you need a smaller gun, and to fit that niche, I'm going to use the Sig Sauer 365. It's a striker action caliber 9x19, and it has a 10-shot magazine. And 12-shot magazines are readily available. It also has nice big high visibility tritium sights. Let's shoot it. Not too bad. Now, if there's one piece of advice I would give anybody is that if you're going to get a gun like this, get the kind with the manual safety. Now let's take a look at the target. And again, not too bad. Now, I am going to show you one more handgun. And yes, it really will be just one more. The last handgun on my list is a Ruger Blackhawk. Now that might not make sense, but give me a few minutes, I think I can make it make sense. And I'm going to start with explaining a little bit about how this handgun works. It's a single-action revolver with a loading gate, so the cylinder is locked. Open the loading gate and that freewheels the cylinder. And you'll line up one chamber, load one round, rotate, line up one chamber, load one round, until you have all 6 loaded. Then you'll snap the loading gate shut and the cylinder locks. It's a single-action revolver, so you have to cock the hammer with each shot. And after you've fired your 6, you'll open the loading gate to freewheel the cylinder, and then you'll line up that chamber and eject that empty casing with your ejector rod right here. Then you'll load in one round, line up another one, eject the next empty, load in one round, line up the next one, eject that empty, load in one round, until you have all 6 loaded again. Now some people will say, well, you should eject all 6 before you start reloading. Altogether that might be faster, but by ejecting one and loading one, then I immediately at least have some more rounds in the gun. So while I'm loading, if I get interrupted, I can snap the loading gate shut and shoot and at least have a few rounds in it. So why would I select a handgun like this? For a couple of reasons. Let me show you one of them. So I've got my target set up, and I'll shoot this with the Blackhawk from a distance of 25 yards. So this is me shooting 5 shots offhand at 25 yards. And the one that's low, that's just a flyer, that's just me, and yes, that is very annoying. But the first reason this gun is on my list is because I can shoot it fairly accurately. The second reason this revolver is on my list takes a little bit longer to explain, and it goes like this. Traditional revolver cartridges like 38 Special and 357 Magnum are rimmed casings, and they need those rims so that when you load those into a double action revolver, the ejector can grip that rim and kick out all 6 empty casings at once. When you load what would traditionally be an auto-loading cartridge like a 9x19 or 40 Smith & Wesson into a double-action revolver, you need moon clips because those cartridges have recessed rims, and so the ejector wouldn't be able to grip the rim. Guns like the Blackhawk, because of the way the ejector rod is designed, can shoot what would traditionally be auto-loading cartridges without the need for moon clips. Ruger made a Blackhawk, I don't think they still do, but at one time they made a Blackhawk that was caliber 357 Magnum, but it came with an interchangeable 9x19 cylinder. Really added to the versatility of your firearm. And that brings me to the reason why I like this particular Blackhawk, because this one is chambered in caliber 30 carbine, which is not only a pretty good handgun round, but it makes this Blackhawk an excellent mate for my M1 carbine rifle, which is one of the rifles on my top 5 rifles for the current situation that we're in. But that's a topic for another time. So until then, let's recap. The top 5 were the Beretta 92 FS, the M17, the Steyr GB, the Beretta M922, the Ruger 5.7, and the Sig 365. And then, last but not least, the Ruger Blackhawk. Now there's a couple of things to add. And I do not like talking about politics. There's lots of other people talking about politics. Yankee Marshall likes to talk about politics. Johnny B likes to talk about politics, and he's good at it. But there's a couple of things I have to say. The situation that we're in, as I said earlier, I perceive that it will get worse before it gets better. And with our presidential election coming up in the very near future, I perceive that no matter which way that election goes, it's going to lead to a great deal of what we're now politely calling civil unrest. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I perceive is going to happen. So I'm hoping to, in the near future, switch back to my old top 5 handguns, but for the near future, these are going to be my top 5. So, as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the Paul's Top 5 Handguns video.